Gather ye subjects and pledge purpose to his royal mud the first. The non-human Norman hijacks the Enterprise and takes us to a world of safety, technology beyond imagination, and of course, endless unaging android ass. Logic is a wreath of pretty flowers that smell bad, and this episode of Star Trek Universe is a review of Star Trek 212, I Mud, right after these words from these advertisement Annabelles. Welcome into Star Trek Universe. This episode is of the series where I, David C. Robertson, rewatches classic Star Trek for the umpteenth time, happily, I might add, and introduces it for the first time to my good friend Effie Oppelders, who for the first time in this show's history is sitting right next to me.
I am here. I can hit you accidentally if I'm not careful.
Yeah, accidentally.
Right. I have to now take care not to read your notes before, so I actually laugh spontaneously when I first hear them. It's different.
It's odd.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, so the painfully inept memory alpha synopsis. A takeover leads Kirk to his old nemesis, Harry Mudd.
Wow, that's all. Okay, that's all we get. Technically accurate, as usual, just covers none of the actual episode.
That's true. Well, kind of a little bit of the episode.
It just spoils the reveal. So it spoils, 10 minutes?
Yeah. Which is called I Mud, so if you remembered Harry from the first time, you would have known.
Yeah. It's hard not to see it coming, I'll admit.
Which was weird because it's like they know the structure of the show. Why are they trying so hard to hide the reveal?
Yeah, they should be aware by now that the title is prominently displayed in the credits.
I mean,
if they hadn't, okay, maybe you wouldn't have seen it in the TV guide or whatever.
I will give this to them, back then, reruns weren't really a thing. A lot of people they hadn't poured over all these episodes and said, I remember Harry Mudd from Mudd's Women. But at the same time, they treated it like you very much should remember him.
Yeah, it's clear there's history and, it's explained, but at the same time, it's not as if you don't totally have to know everything about it, but you should catch on pretty quickly that they know each other.
Yep. So there are a ton of Star Trek tropes in this one. We have a planet full of androids. They're left over that's one, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
They're left over from an ancient technological society. That's two.
That's usually how androids, yeah.
They want to take over the galaxy. That's three.
Of course.
Because they find humanity illogical and greedy. That's four. And they offer us utopia that we don't want. That's five.
Which tends to always be good shit and happiness.
All right.
And that's usually the.
The strange bit in this episode is that this is pretty much all presented as a broad comedy in this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of, shall we say, cliches in the android space. Yeah, there's a lot of funny business, and Mudd plays to that well, because he is just the kind of sleazebag that would indeed create endless ass, because what other primal urges does he have? There is nothing beyond his most base needs.
Yeah, but you know what? Roger Carmel, he did a damn fine job as Mudd here. Everybody did a pretty damn good job with this episode.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it stretched outside of the normal tonal limits of a Star Trek episode.
Oh, not at all. No.
I do have thoughts. The episode begins with the android Norman taking over the Enterprise. One, I wanted to know how long Norman was preparing to do this, how long it took to get himself into their databases, falsify shit, but also because they thought he was just an officer.
They were like, oh, this guy is coming on board, this checks out.
But two, if there's only one Norman, and he was busy on the Enterprise, who was coordinating all of the androids on Mudd's planet? Were they all just asleep? Or were they asleep until he went to sleep on the bridge? Because remember, he did do the thing where he went to sleep on the bridge for, days.
Right. Well, do we know anything about the range from later on in the episode? Because we know he
Not
is
really.
Exactly. So I figured he should be able to just coordinate with the back of his frontal lobe or whatever. I figured he was still operating as the primary android while being away.
But we know
he cannot delegate that specific functionality because no one else seems to be able to do that. And I mean, if he had truly left and all the androids would have gone face down for a bit, I don't know how Harry Mudd would have survived.
Yeah.
Because he seems to have just continued on fucking, and unless he's a necrophiliac...
He probably is.
It's likely. He might be the type that doesn't notice she is unconscious for a couple days. But still, that wouldn't be my first, Occam's razor and all.
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we know that the whole back end of the plot is predicated on the notion that he can't keep up with all these androids. So I do kind of want to know the range. I kind of want to know what was going on while he was on the Enterprise the entire time, because they all coordinate through him. Anyway.
Yeah. Mudd, on the other hand, didn't seem to have many requests that exceeded the limitations of the androids on the planet. Because that took some, let's be weird for a really long stretch from Kirk and co.
Yep. This episode is often cited as being somewhat sexist because while all of the men were being tempted with productive, intelligent ways to keep them occupied, Uhura was tempted with immortality and endless beauty. Though I will point out, Chekhov was tempted with women, women. So
they're cute. Yeah.
More than being sexist, I just feel like it sucks for Uhura because she's on the same level as Chekhov here.
Yeah. Like, her character doesn't say many flattering things about her, but on the other hand, so far, we haven't gotten to know her very well, besides having musical talent.
Yeah.
End of story. End of list. I don't know. I know she's normally very good at her job, but, for you aside from the vanity, it does also imply a sort of fear of death, a very primal, understandable thing where it's like, I would naively love to just not age.
Yeah.
Which, from what I hear, tends to come with some negative side effects, aging.
Now, we don't actually know the final fate of Uhura in the Star Trek universe.
Oh, God. Spoilers. No, but in what sense?
Like, I'm just saying,
I could have gone back later on.
Dude, that is something because much later in the show, they literally had, in the universe, in the franchise, we have androids who look and feel like flesh. They can remain ageless. I would love it if in this new 32nd century show that we're getting, we meet the 900-year-old Uhura who decided over the years, I just don't want
to go back on this decision.
I want to keep seeing what happens.
Yeah. And that would be a very interesting take regardless, because it's either that or it's, God, I'm suicidal after 900 years. And I prefer this utopia just keeps on going and the universe is pretty fun kind of take, because you're doing Star Trek and, it's supposedly going pretty well in the universe, relatively speaking.
Yeah. So,
it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone would have the gall to recast her as, one of those very specific first...
Oh, she's already been recast twice. You take Zoe Saldana from the Kelvinverse movies.
Sure, but outside of the Kelvinverse, where else has she been recast?
Strange New Worlds.
Oh my God, they did. Okay.
Yeah. She's already, if she wanted...
At that point, you have an actress. You might as well. Yeah,
if they wanted to be like, hey, let's have her pop up in Starfleet Academy set in the 32nd century, they could literally just go and get the actress who's playing her in the TOS prequel.
Yeah.
And be like, I wanted to be young forever,
cool.
So I went back to when I was 20.
To me, I wouldn't be mad at that. But at the same time, I haven't seen a lot of Uhura in all of the rest of what's up next. So there might be, I could imagine there being more to her to the extent that fans would be upset if she actually did decide to do that.
Not as much as you would hope.
Okay, never mind.
They've done more with her character in Strange New Worlds in a lot of ways than they did in... the original stuff.
That's rather sad.
But she wasn't a primary. It was, very much Kirk, Spock, McCoy.
Yeah, I know, and she should have been, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
She.
You get three seasons. She got some stuff, but is often joked about that the only thing she ever said was hailing frequencies open, which is not true.
No, it's not the only thing, but she does say that a lot. Sure, that's literally her job.
But as communications officer, you should have a lot more to do. In the movie, she gets, bits. As all the crew does, and she probably gets a little less than Scotty, but more than Chekhov. You know, it's just stuff like that.
That's roughly the ranking, I guess.
Yeah.
Although it sucks to have, like, God, that's how many men before we get to a woman if you tier it from Kirk to bottom?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well.
At least she's above the nurse that I keep forgetting the name of.
Nurse Chapel.
Chapel, thank you.
I
was like, Chaplin? That's not right. No. Sexism.
Right.
There's more of an example in there.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? We're not just talking about Uhura, though. Like, in the movies, we start getting other female characters who get way more screen time than Uhura does.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's just kind of a,
It's racism and sexism.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, but,
But I was actually trying to get off of Uhura and back into other sexism.
Yeah, but it wasn't really... Yeah, anyway. Moving on.
Because we have the entire running gag of the worst hell we can put Harry Mudd in is multiples of his nagging wife.
Yes.
That's a lovely stereotype.
Yes, that was rough.
Yeah, that was... You really have to turn off like 3/4 of your brain to be like, oh, this is really funny. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, I see what they were going for back then. Oh.
But also...
She seems like a terrible person to hang around with, sure. But it is the fact that it's such a trope.
Did he make her that way, or was she like that and she made him the way he is? Either way, in today's day and age, I do know people like Harry Mudd and Stella.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I get that. And I would automatically, lean towards him having always been this kind of guy and her being justifiably upset with him over most of his bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The other way around, I don't see how nagging would lead to specifically all these crimes.
Right, yeah.
It might lead him to be like, I'm adventuring out in the cosmos now, bye. But that would not necessarily translate into, let me smuggle some women.
But he is the kind of guy who would totally blame it on her.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's like, the more I think of her, the further I go.
That is how I headcanoned it.
Yeah.
He programmed the android, so it is his warped vision of what his ex-wife was like. Or still wife, I don't know. How does marriage work in the future?
Yeah. Did you feel like they were touching the fourth wall here? When they were like, so far this thing has had its amusing aspects, but that threat the androids made about taking over all the humans in the galaxy is not very funny.
No. No, I didn't take that as through the fourth wall.
Not through, just touching.
Yeah,
with the tip of a dick. Just laying the tip of a dick on the fourth wall. Like, we acknowledge that this is a comedy, but that last thing was not very funny, and this is actually might be dangerous for a second. So
okay, but I would, if I were to take that as a meta thing, I would take it as, oh, this has been fun in that we gave you some thrills because there's hot women who are all twins, apparently.
Yeah.
And sort of hanging the lantern on the fact that they wrote in, oh, let's have them try and take over the universe to escalate them into some sort of threat, because otherwise people might be like, well, they could have stayed there. The way I am every time they offer paradise and Kirk has to go, no, we need a shitty life. Fuck happiness.
Yeah. This is more Gene L. Coon, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to.
Gene L. Coon is not a character on the show, so I took Kirk to like channel that.
Gene L. Coon is the koala. You don't know what that means yet.
I don't. But apparently he's a character. Okay.
Yeah, no, in Lower Decks, someone sees
right.
a koala.
The koala. You have told me this.
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Gene L. Koala. Now,
I mean, who else are you going to ask for that?
You don't want to be like, you don't want the androids to take over the galaxy and then basically enslave everyone into a paradise. That's not real paradise.
No. At that point, they were, like, that's why they had to write it in there. It is the Killmonger problem of, well, he had a point until they had to sort of forcibly, massage the character into wanting something explicitly evil.
Yeah.
Like, it starts out, we're fine with this, and then suddenly it's not like, no, never mind, we're gonna kill all the people. Or enslave all the people, whatever.
Yeah.
There's that always feels a bit of a cop out to me, where I'm like, it's a slightly lazy flip of a switch escalation, but I'll take it.
Yeah. So the first draft of the script devoted more attention to Norman's act of diverting the Enterprise to mud, with the crew only arriving at the end of the second act.
Jesus.
So, we were complaining about 10 minutes.
I mean, if you had changed the title, it would have been an interesting redirect.
Yeah.
Because I probably would have missed the same actor that played Harry Mudd before being in the title credits, or if he even had been.
Yeah, I think they saved that for the end.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So if you just not titled it I Mudd, that could have worked. And it would probably have saved on a lot of, we're performing a play for the android who is not quite getting the bad writing that is going on within our play, within the sort of writing going on outside of the play, in the show. God, this is meta.
So after an examination revealed Norman as an android, Scotty expressed an urge to take Norman apart, quickly adding that it was nothing personal. Norman understood. So David Gerald did an uncredited rewrite on this episode. One of the significant changes he made at Gene Coon's request was to get the crew onto the planet by the end of the first act. Other notable contributions were the gag of the 500 identical female robots and more material relating to Stella. Coon offered to submit the script for arbitration so that Gerald would receive credit and residuals. However, Gerald declined, as he felt it would be stealing from Stephen Kandel, who had created Harry Mudd.
Wait, who ended up being credited?
Stephen Kandel.
Despite him, he wrote the original using the same character he used in the first Harry Mudd episode. Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And he also wrote a draft of this.
Yeah, he wrote a draft of this. Gerald rewrote that draft, and then Coon rewrote that draft. But apparently,
I don't know that he actually rewrote the draft completely, but he was he had his fingers in it.
Yeah, he changed some things. It's like, it's not where we need it yet.
But, Gerald got the job doing this based on his Trouble with Tribbles script.
See, that one was far more comedic to me than this one.
Yep.
Like, this was silly, but that was silly.
We'll get there.
Yeah. See you next week, guys.
So clocking in at approximately 5 minutes and 35 seconds, this episode's teaser is the longest in the original series.
Oh.
Using identical twins for each android, series aided the photographic effects budget for the episode with imaginative use of twins and split screens.
I figured.
As many as 6 of the one model were shown at once, while 2 of the same model required nothing but an additional costume. This ultimately gave the illusion of a planet of thousands of androids. It didn't.
No. It gave the illusions of a dozen. Tops.
Right.
But I did, because it took me a while to realize, like, oh, wait, there's numbers on and the number goes up to a bunch. Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't even see, there's 500 of them as a gag, necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't either.
That's a weird phrase.
I mean, that's like old school Hollywood. Like, bring in the mirrors for the twin gag. Anything you have to trick the audience into believing is a gag, you see. It's a gag!
Look at it! Laugh! Oh.
While searching for identical twins to play androids, casting director Joseph DaGosta found 2 young girls, apparently prostitutes, walking on Hollywood Boulevard with their pet, Wild Cat.
Wow.
He brought the 2 girls to meet producer Gene L. Coon and associate producer Robert H. Justman. While they inspected the girls, Coon had to hold the Wildcat, named Marlin.
Oh, God.
Which consequently scratched him with its claw and tore his entire shirt. The girls were deemed unsuitable.
Oh, this would have been great if it ended happily ever after. Like,
I know.
Or it had made it into the script somehow. That would have also been funny, but no. Okay. No, dang it.
This episode marks George Takei's last appearance in the series until Return to Tomorrow. During his 9-episode absence, Takei was on the East Coast filming The Green Berets.
Okay, fair enough. He had work.
He's in a movie.
But how much do we get? Like, when is Return to Tomorrow? How long? Like,
it'll be 9 episodes.
Okay, and then he's back for the rest of it.
Yeah.
So that's a weird way to phrase that, because if the sentence starts with, this marks his last appearance until...
Well...
That doesn't sound like...
It says,
this was right before he took a break for 9 episodes. Like, sorry, but the way that was an order of words that scared me for a second.
No. Well, he's around.
It's all right. He should be.
With the exception of those actors who played members of the Enterprise crew, Roger C. Carmel was the only actor to play the same character in more than one episode of the series.
Huh. Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't seen anybody return. No.
Yeah.
Wow. You're just left behind in space.
This episode further establishes the time frame of Chekhov's assignment to the Enterprise. In Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, we learned that Chekhov was aboard when the events from Space Seed took place. In this episode, his question to Kirk, "You know this man, Captain?" tells us he was definitely not on board when Harry Mudd made his first appearance in Mudd's Women. Mm-hmm. This episode also marks one of 4 times Kirk is able to talk a computer to death.
Yeah,
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of those.
This skill is also used in The Changeling, The Return of the Archons, and The Ultimate Computer, with an honorable mention going to What Are Little Girls Made Of, in which Kirk's arguments get Ruck, the android, so riled up he suicidally attacks Corby.
That's my favorite kind of attack, the suicidal attack.
Yeah, of course. Kamikaze.
Yeah.
According to Walter Koenig, that was Chekhov.
Right.
NBC considered making a spin-off series detailing the comedic adventures of Harry Mudd. After the success of this episode, they assigned Gene Roddenberry to develop the idea, but being busy with Star Trek and other projects, he didn't have time for it, and the series was never conceived. Thank God.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty piss-poor idea. Like, they could have done something with the character, but where they left him in this episode leaves, like, very little room, relatively speaking.
It's like,
It would be him and the triple wife, I guess,
right,
for eternity, and a couple twins.
I mean, you could just be like,
He will get off eventually, in the other sense of the term.
At the beginning of this episode, or beginning, quote unquote, when Kirk is like, the last time I saw you, I was left you, going to a prison or whatever. And Harry's like, oh, therein hangs the tale. Anyway, it's like they could just do that again.
Yeah. But at the same time, they would have wanted to make it somewhat episodic. And I feel like you'd have to have Kirk come in at the end of each episode and just be like, Harry, we talked about this. I'm locking you up again. And then he's miraculously out the next episode. That could work, but you'd have to get Shatner again. Yeah. Because it feels weird to have, like, a different captain each time when there is that special rivalry between the two guys.
Oh, I mean, you wouldn't... I mean, looking at it from today's sensibilities, or even back then, you could totally have, like, a rapscallion space pirate running around just dealing with... Like, he's not a great guy. You could do it
now, yeah.
He's not a great guy, but he's not as bad as the people he's up against.
Exactly, yeah. You could make it work.
On the other hand, it was Gene Roddenberry.
Exactly. I'm not sure it would have been interesting. It might be now, but really, I don't care enough. There are plenty of other things to do.
Yeah.
And I know he returns at some point, so
they
did something with the character.
Harry Mudd in Ass Traffic. I'm here to traffic some ass. In space. Ass.
Space ass. That could be the title of the show, frankly.
Sure.
I'm not sure it would get through the censors in the 60s, but whatever.
Yeah. What else? You got anything else for this episode? Did you like it?
I did, yeah. I enjoyed this one. Don't know where that came from.
You're dying.
I am slowly dying.
Yeah, as are we all.
Thanks to the 3 voices of my ex-wife in my head, and my lungs. No, I don't think I have much more on this.
Fitting Mudd, you no good.
I don't know.
Have you been out drinking again? You no good.
Yeah, shut up. No, I haven't been drinking, actually. I've had 1 beer over the past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
It's not a bad thing.
We're not really drinkers in this house.
No, exactly. But I'm also not feeling the urge to be like, let's get wasted while you guys are sober, because that seems like a good idea when you're staying with friends.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ooh.
All right, well, next time we have Federation officials and Klingons who like to quibble But they ain't no trouble like The Trouble with Tribbles. We're watching the hallowed, well-loved classic, The Trouble with Tribbles. I hope you join us. Until then, Jolon True, live long and prosper, and as always,
eat a dick, people. Eat a dick. Bye!
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.